What's up, guys? In this video, I'm going to share with you a letter that I wrote to President Obama in 2015. It's basically just my sharing my thoughts about criminal disqualification and about the one thing I think he could have done to help black people more so than any other policy I've ever heard even discussed. So here it is, guys, and it is a little bit long, so just bear with me. All right, dear President Obama, my name is Abood. I'm a man who has been saved from a life of darkness and has now dedicated himself to helping others. I'm writing you with an opportunity for you to realize the time you have left as our president to do something that will immediately change the lives of millions of Americans for the better, those that need it the most. In life, we all face our own difficulties and challenges. How we handle those challenges will usually determine the outcome of our lives in one way or another. I know we can agree that all have made mistakes, and that learning and moving on from those mistakes is key to arriving at a point of success. Some people have made the type mistakes that have led them to imprisonment for either short times or sometimes decades at a time. Upon completion of their sentence, whether at the state or federal level, regardless of the duration or specifics, these people, myself included, have paid their price to society with regard to their crimes. As the law currently stands, ex-convicts are the only group among us that are legally allowed to be discriminated against. That discrimination presents itself in many ways, but the worst of which is with regard to employers being allowed to automatically disregard us as potential employees based solely on an act we may have committed years or even decades ago. It is the equivalent of me indicating that I'm unwilling to hire any ex-military personnel for any of my businesses because I do not agree with some of the things they may have done in the past. Imagine how that would be received by the public. I see no difference whatsoever. Discrimination is discrimination, no matter what you call it. I ask you to put yourself in the shoes of one of us. Picture yourself having made terrible mistakes, some your own fault, and some the fault of your upbringing and/or circumstances. You have just left prison and begun the very difficult transition in going from animal, as we are treated, to civilian, who is expected to now forget the violence you may have just been forced to endure or inflict in order to survive. As difficult as this time already is for so many reasons, you now become aware of the fact that society as it stands has forbidden you from legally and lawfully obtaining most types of employment. Regardless of who you are as a person, you have the need to be able to provide for yourself and loved ones. I do not believe any man has the right to prevent another from seeking out lawful opportunity in order to better himself and the lives of those around him. So here you are now dealing with the harsh reality of what it really means to be an ex-con. You may have children and family that are depending on you to provide for them. What do you now do? If you or any other man would be willing to answer this question honestly, we would all be able to find a common ground to begin to take the steps necessary to change things. Having been in this situation myself, I can tell you that every man has his breaking point. My intention upon release from prison was to do whatever necessary to legally provide for myself as I try to make the additional changes required for me to become a contributing member of society. Unfortunately, and as a result of current laws in place, I too found myself in a position where regardless of my qualifications and/or education, I was being blocked from entering the workforce. I was very fortunate in being able to go into business for myself and avoiding many of the further difficulties I would have faced, but I can assure you that had I not been so fortunate, at some point I would have considered the society that was stopping me from having another chance at a good and normal life to be my enemy. Survival is the strongest of our instincts, and no law in place will stand in its way. At some point, the mindset will likely become, no matter how hard I try, no matter what I do, I have no way to do the right thing in the eyes of the law. I will not die, and those that have put their feet on my neck and stood in my way will suffer as I have. To those that would say, why should we care? They made their own choices in life. I say, you will only hold that position until it is you, or until one of these people come make a victim of you or your loved ones as a result of having all hope for a normal life taken from them. To feel completely hopeless in a nation that refers to itself as the land of the free, the home of the brave, is unacceptable. For those like me who have had to endure the humiliation and oftentimes mistreatment during our imprisonment, it is unfair that we continue to suffer for the rest of our lives beyond our agreed upon sentences. I have lost many rights as a result of my criminal convictions, and yet I am expected to contribute the same as those that have their full rights intact. I do not have the full benefits of that of an American citizen, and therefore should not be expected to contribute as such. Though I myself was able to overcome the obstacles in place, many others are not. To those people, the current laws in place allowing them to be discriminated against are the equivalent of a life sentence of poverty for whatever crimes they may have committed. In addition to restrictions regarding employment, we have lost our rights to participate in the democratic process of election and the right to defend ourselves and the lives of our family. I do not believe any man has the right to tell me that I am forbidden from protecting my family. This is an instance where government got it wrong, and you being in the position you are have the unique opportunity to correct this injustice. I believe all races of all people are my people, but given the current racial climate and realities, would advise you to take this opportunity to do for your people, the black people, who are the largest group of Americans affected by this one thing that would immediately change the lives of so many. The amount of poor Americans who have some direct consequence as a result of these laws is staggering. Every single major city and poor neighborhood shares this common enemy, but the bottom line is, what are we supposed to do? I believe you to be a good man, a moral man, and though we may disagree on some things, those disagreements mean nothing when opportunity comes to make real change that will help so many. This is your chance to do one single thing that can help America and its people in an unbelievable way. This one thing has such a great effect on so many that you will be remembered forever as the president who was able to help millions in a way that no other was willing. Please take into consideration what I have written here. Upon fulfillment of my own obligations, I offer you my services in any way I can assist. Though I am a man, a husband, a father, etc., I will forever be treated as inmate number 581749C/533200 unless change is enacted. With love and respect, Abood. P.S. After having completed this writing, I heard both the Pope and yourself discussing prisoners and how we need to assist them, and yet neither of you even mentioned this issue, the one thing that negatively affects the likelihood of success upon release more than all other factors combined. So basically, guys, the gist of this whole thing is that as an ex-convict, as a person who had to go through the criminal justice system, I agreed to a sentence, as did all others. Those sentences are basically contractual agreements, okay? They're written out in detail as far as the terms of your incarceration, the aftercare, if there's parole, and whatever else. Nowhere in those contracts, for anyone, ever, do you find any writings indicating that in addition to these parameters written out here, you will also lose further rights as a citizen. Possibly your right to vote, right to bear arms, right to participate in certain business activities. You'll be disqualified from holding certain licenses, as I was. And in addition, you are prohibited from receiving many government benefits as a result of being an ex-convict. All right? So when you think about how many people have been through this system, let's just look back 30, 40 years. Think about old heads right now who are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, who are still criminally disqualified for things that happened decades ago. Think about their families, their children, their friends, how they have all been affected, and then think about how the entire community, especially depressed areas and poor neighborhoods, have been affected. When you think about it in that way, this one thing of criminal disqualification is affecting tens of millions of people, literally tens of millions of people who are banned from the workplace or who are suffering as a result of their loved ones not being able to participate and become their best. All right, so that was the gist of this. I did receive a response from the president, and I will share that in another video. In addition to this, I wrote along the same thoughts to local senators as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and took something positive out of it, and thank you for listening.